His eyes opened slowly. Everything hurt. His head pounded like someone had used it as a drum, and his body felt heavy like he was buried under wet sand. The ceiling above him was wrong. It wasn't the gray metal of his cargo ship. This ceiling glowed with soft blue light that moved in patterns he couldn't understand. He tried to sit up, but his muscles wouldn't obey properly. A sharp beep came from somewhere nearby, loud and angry. Then he heard footsteps. Quick, light footsteps that sounded different from human boots. A face appeared above him. His breath caught in his throat. The woman looking down at him had soft orange fur covering her face. Her ears stood tall on top of her head, pointed and alert like a fox. Her eyes were golden with vertical pupils that watched him carefully. "You're awake," she said, but her mouth didn't move right with the words. The voice came clear in Korean, but her lips formed different shapes. Some kind of translator realized. His hand moved to his neck and found a small bump he didn't remember having before. Where am I?" His voice came out rough and dry. The fox woman's ears twitched. "You're aboard the Crimson Tail. I'm the medical officer. You've been unconscious for 3 days. 3 days. His memory felt like broken glass. He remembered his freighter, the Morning Star. He was hauling basic supplies to the outer mining colonies. Then there were ships. Strange ships that didn't match any design he knew. Weapons fire, explosions. His ship breaking apart. "My crew?" he asked, though he already feared the answer. His ears lowered. "You were alone when we found you. Your ship was destroyed. We detected your emergency pod and brought you aboard." Alone, the word hit him hard. His crew of 4 was gone, closed his eyes, fighting back the grief that threatened to drown him. "I'm sorry for your loss," said softly. Her furred hand touched his shoulder gently. "But you need to rest. Your body suffered trauma from the escape pod crash." "What are you?" The question came out before could stop it. "I've never seen your species before." His golden eyes widened slightly. "You haven't? That's unexpected." She paused, her tail swishing behind her. "Hadn't noticed the tail before. We are Vulpine. Our empire has traveled these void paths for centuries. What species are you?" "Human from Earth." The door to the medical bay slid open with a hiss. Another Vulpine entered, this one wearing what looked like a military uniform. Her fur was darker, almost red, and her bearing spoke of command. She stopped when she saw was awake, her eyes narrowing. "Captain," said quickly, stepping back. "He just woke up." Captain approached the bed slowly, studying like he was a strange puzzle. "Human," she said, testing the word. "I've never heard of your kind. Where is your—" "Far from here," answered. "The Sol system, 3rd planet." "And you travel alone?" asked. "Where is your fleet, your people?" "Humanity is still expanding slowly," explained. "We're new to deep space. My ship was just a cargo freighter. We don't have much military presence out here." And exchanged a look that couldn't read. Their ears both twitched in the same pattern, some kind of silent communication. Captain said carefully, "He's male." His eyes went wide, her tail went completely still. "Male, are you certain?" "His biology is clear, definitely male of his species." The captain stared at with an expression that mixed shock, confusion, and something else. "Hope, maybe. We need to contact the matriarchy immediately." "Wait," said, trying to sit up again. This time helped him, propping pillows behind his back. "What's so important about me being male? What's going on?" Was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. "The Vulpine have no males. Our males died out 2 centuries ago from a genetic plague. Every Vulpine you see on this ship, every Vulpine in our entire empire is female. We survive through cloning and genetic manipulation, but our DNA degrades more with each generation." She paused. "You are the first male of any species we've encountered in 200 years." The weight of that statement settled over the room. Understood now why they were looking at him that way. He wasn't just a survivor. He was something they thought was lost forever. "I need to get back to human space," said. "My company will be looking for me." My family. That may not be possible right now, interrupted. The raiders who destroyed your ship are still in this sector. It's too dangerous. She didn't sound like she was lying, but sensed there was more she wasn't saying. For now, you'll remain aboard the Crimson Tail as our guest. Guest, the word felt more like prisoner, but was too weak to argue. Over the next few days, recovered his strength. Checked on him regularly, her medical scans thorough but gentle. She seemed fascinated by his biology, always asking questions about humans. How did they heal? What did they eat? Could they see the same light spectrum as Vulpine? Other crew members would pass by the medical bay, always finding excuses to peek inside. Noticed they all had the same fox-like features, pointed ears, fur, tails, vertical pupils. They whispered among themselves, their ears constantly moving. He caught words through the translator. Male, different, strange scent. On the fourth day was allowed to walk the ship, guided him through the corridors explaining the layout. The Crimson Tail was a warship, sleek and powerful. Everything was designed for efficiency and combat. The crew numbered about 200, all female, all watching him with curious golden eyes. They were walking past the engineering section when alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the corridor. Vulpine crew members rushed past them, heading toward the engine room. Heard shouting, panic in their voices despite the translator's neutral tone. Reactor containment failure, someone yelled. We have 5 minutes before meltdown. Grabbed's arm, trying to pull him away from the engineering section, but was already moving toward it, not away. His instincts as a ship engineer kicked in, overriding common sense. What are you doing? Called after him. Didn't answer. He ran into the engine room where a dozen Vulpine engineers were frantically working at consoles. The reactor core in the center of the room pulsed with unstable energy, its containment field flickering. The magnetic field generators are failing, one engineer shouted. We can't stabilize them. Pushed his way to the main console, his eyes scanning the readouts. The symbols were alien, but the basic principles of reactor design were universal. He could see the problem immediately. They were trying to reinforce the field by adding more power, but that was making it worse. Stop, he shouted. You're overloading it. You need to reduce power, not increase it. The engineers turned to stare at him, shock on their furred faces. But the senior engineer, her nameplate reading Jinnah, looked at his eyes, saw something there and made a choice. Do what he says, Jinnah ordered. His hands flew over the controls, using hand gestures when he couldn't read the symbols. Shut down generators 3 and 7. Reroute the field harmonics through the secondary grid. Create a cascade shutdown, controlled and slow. The engineers followed his instructions, their skilled hands working fast. The reactor's pulsing slowed. The containment field stopped flickering. After 30 seconds that felt like hours, the reactor stabilized. The alarm stopped. The red lights faded. The engineering bay fell silent except for the steady hum of the now stable reactor. Jinnah turned to, her ears high and alert. How did you know? Basic engineering, said, his heart still pounding. Human ships use similar principles. Sometimes the simple solution is the right one. Captain's voice came over the ship's communication system. Engineering, report. Jinnah pressed a button. Crisis averted, Captain. The human. He saved us. He saved the ship. There was a long pause, then spoke again, her tone different now. Bring him to my ready room immediately. As walked through the corridors toward the captain's office, he noticed something had changed. The crew members who saw him didn't just stare with curiosity anymore. They looked at him with respect. Some even nodded as he passed, a gesture that seemed significant in their culture. He had proven himself useful, but as he approached the captain's door, wondered if that was going to make his situation better or much more complicated. Captain's ready room was smaller than expected. The walls showed star maps and tactical displays, constantly updating with information he couldn't fully understand. stood by the window that looked out into the void of space, her dark red fur catching the light from distant stars. "You saved my ship," she said without turning around. "My engineers have been trained for years, yet you saw the solution in seconds. How?" Shifted his weight, still feeling weak from his injuries. Different perspective, maybe. Human engineering focuses on simplicity. We don't have the advanced technology you do, so we learn to work with basic principles. Sometimes that helps us see things differently. Finally turned to face him. Her golden eyes studied him carefully. "The Vulpine Council has been informed about you. They're very interested in meeting a human, especially a male." She paused. "I've been ordered to keep you aboard until they decide what to do." "I'm a prisoner then." "You're a guest," corrected, though her tone suggested the difference wasn't large. "You'll be given quarters, comfortable ones, but for your safety you'll have guards posted outside your cabin." "For my safety," raised an eyebrow, "or to make sure I don't leave?" "Both." At least she was honest. "You'll be given access to most of the ship. You can eat in the common areas, use the recreation facilities, visit the engineering bay if Jinnah allows it, but you cannot access the communication systems or the shuttle bay without permission." Wanted to argue, to demand they return him to human space, but he was alone on a ship of 200 alien warriors, light years from any human settlement. He had no choice but to cooperate, for now. "Fine," he said. "When do I meet these guards?" As if on cue, the door opened. Two Vulpine entered. The first was young, her light orange fur bright and her ears constantly moving with excitement. She looked at with open curiosity, her tail swishing behind her. "This is," introduced. "She'll take the first watch rotation." Stepped forward and gave a small bow. "Honored to protect you, human." The second Vulpine was older, her fur darker and in places. She moved like a trained fighter, every step controlled and ready. Her eyes watched with suspicion. "And this is Sora, head of security. She'll coordinate your guard rotations." Sora didn't bow, she just nodded once, her expression hard. "I'll keep you safe, but if you try anything that threatens this ship or crew, your status as guest won't protect you." "Understood," replied, meeting her gaze. He respected directness. His new quarters were indeed comfortable. The room was larger than his entire cabin on the Morning Star. The bed was soft, designed for vulpine proportions but adequate for a human. There was a desk, a small bathroom, and a window showing the stars outside. But when he checked the door panel, it only opened from the outside. Stood guard outside, her weapon held professionally but not aimed at anything. When opened the door to test it, she jumped slightly, her ears perking up. "Do you need something?" she asked. "Just checking if I can actually leave." "Of course, you're free to walk the ship during the day cycle. I'm just here to make sure you're safe." She seemed earnest about it, not like she was lying. Over the next few days fell into a routine. He explored the ship, always with a guard following a few steps behind. The rotation changed every 8 hours. Sometimes it was friendly and eager to talk. Sometimes Sora, silent and watchful. Sometimes others he didn't know yet. The crew's reaction to him evolved. At first they stared. Then they started asking questions. Where was Earth? What were humans like? Did all humans have such strange flat ears? Did they all have such short fur, or was that skin? Spent time in the engineering bay, where Jinnah welcomed him enthusiastically. She showed him Vulpine technology, and in return, he explained human solutions to common problems. Their approaches were different but compatible. Jinnah started calling him Little Brother, which the translator said was a term of affection and protection in Vulpine culture. "You're smaller than our males were," she explained when he asked about the nickname, "and you need protecting, so Little Brother." Was 6 feet tall and had always considered himself average height, but the Vulpine averaged around 6.5 feet, with some like Sora pushing 7. To them, he was small. One evening, was in his quarters reading technical manuals Jinnah had lent him when he heard voices outside. Raised voices. He moved to the door, pressing his ear against it. "Should send him back," someone was saying. "He's a distraction." "He saved the ship." That was voice defensive. "He's valuable." "He's male," the other voice countered. "Do you understand what that means? The council will never let him go. They'll study him, use him. Is that what you want?" "I want our species to survive," shot back. "If he can help." "You're too young to remember the before times. When we had males, we protected them, treasured them. Then we lost them. All of them. It broke our society. Now we have a male again from another species, and you think we should just lock him away and use him like a resource." "I didn't say that. But that's what will happen." The voices moved away, their argument fatting. Stood by the door, his mind racing. He understood now. The Vulpine weren't just interested in him scientifically. He represented hope for their dying species, and that made him incredibly valuable and incredibly trapped. The next day, alarms woke him from sleep. Not the reactor alarms this time. Combat alarms. The ship shuddered as something hit the shields, rushed to his door, but it wouldn't open. He was locked in. He shouted, pounding on the door, "What's happening?" The door slid open. Stood there in full combat armor, her weapon ready. "Pirates, they're attacking. You need to stay here where it's safe." "I can help." "No, you're too valuable to risk." She started to close the door again. Another impact rocked the ship. Sparks flew from a nearby panel. The lights flickered. "They're boarding us," Sora's voice came over the comm. "Multiple breaches on decks 3 and 5. All combat personnel to stations." Looked torn between her orders to guard and her duty to fight. Made the choice for her. "Give me a weapon," he said. "If they're boarding, they might come here. I won't be helpless." Hesitated, then pulled a small energy pistol from her belt. "Basic setting, point and fire. Don't shoot any Vulpine." She ran off toward the fighting, leaving alone with a weapon he barely understood. He could hear combat in the distance. Energy weapons firing, shouting, screams. The ship shook again. Something exploded close by, then heard footsteps, multiple sets, coming his way. He raised the pistol, his heart pounding. 3 figures rounded the corner. They weren't Vulpine. These aliens were, with hard shells and multiple limbs. Their weapons were aimed down the corridor, sweeping for targets. Didn't think, he just reacted. He fired. The energy bolt hit the lead pirate in the center of its mass. The creature went down hard. The other 2 turned toward him, surprised. Dove back into his quarters as return fire sizzled past him. He rolled behind the desk, using it as cover. This was nothing like the safe cargo runs he used to do. This was real combat. People were dying, and he was right in the middle of it. One of the pirates charged into the room, fired from behind the desk, hitting it in one of its multiple legs. It stumbled but kept coming. He fired again, and again. The 3rd shot brought it down. The last pirate was smarter. It stayed in the corridor, firing into the room methodically. Couldn't get a clean shot. His desk was disintegrating under the energy barrage. Then he heard a roar, a Vulpine battle cry. Sora appeared behind the pirate, her larger weapon blazing. The pirate went down in seconds. Sora rushed into the room, her eyes wide when she saw the 2 pirates had killed. "You fought them, alone." "Didn't have much choice." More Vulpine arrived, securing the area. Was among them, her fur singed from weapons fire. When she saw standing there, weapon still in hand, her ears went flat. "You were supposed to hide," she said. "They came for me. I heard them talking before you showed up. They knew there was a male aboard. They were specifically hunting for my quarters." Sora checked the fallen pirates, scanning them with a device. Her expression darkened. "These aren't random pirates. They don't attack Vulpine ships unless they have specific intelligence." She looked at. "Someone told them about you." The ship-wide comm crackled. Captain's voice came through, strained but alive. "All hands, the enemy is retreating. Damage control teams to your stations, medical teams to Deck 5, and someone get to the bridge. Now." As they escorted him through the damaged corridors, saw the cost of the battle, injured Vulpine being treated, scorch marks on the walls, hull breaches being sealed by emergency force fields. This attack had been serious. The bridge was chaos when he arrived. Tactical displays showed enemy ships withdrawing, but more contacts were appearing at the edge of scanner range. Turned when entered. There was blood on her uniform, though she didn't seem injured. The transmitted a message before they fled. They said they know we have a mail aboard. They said they'll be back with a bigger fleet. Her golden eyes met his. "Somehow, word has spread about you. You're not just valuable to the Vulpine anymore. You're a target to anyone who wants to use you as leverage or steal you for study." Felt the weight of multiple gazes on him. The entire bridge crew was watching, waiting to see how he'd react. "Then I guess we better make sure I'm worth protecting," he said quietly. The Crimson Tail limped through space, its damaged engines struggling to maintain speed. Repair crews worked around the clock, welding hull breaches and replacing burned-out systems. Helped where he could, his human perspective on engineering proving useful once again. But they weren't giving them time to fully recover. 3 more contacts on long-range scanners, the tactical officer announced. Her name was, and she'd been teaching how to read Vulpine tactical displays in his spare time. Same configuration as the last attack group. Captain's tail lashed in frustration. "They're testing our defenses, seeing how damaged we are." She turned to her communications officer. "Any response from the nearest Vulpine patrol?" A slim Vulpine with pale fur shook her head. "They're still 6 hours away. They will hit us long before then." Stood at the back of the bridge, watching and learning. He'd noticed something about the attack patterns. They were predictable, methodical. They followed standard military doctrine, probably taught across their entire species. "Captain," he said quietly, "can I make a suggestion?" Every head on the bridge turned to look at him, gestured for him to approach. "Speak." The fight with honor began. They announce their attacks, they engage head-on, they follow proper combat protocols. "Right." Nodded. "It's how all civilized species fight. We announce our presence, we give the enemy a chance to surrender, we—" "What if we didn't?" interrupted. "What if we ambushed them instead?" The bridge went silent. Several officers looked shocked, their ears flattening against their heads. Sora, standing guard near as always, made a disgusted sound. "That's dishonorable," said slowly. "We don't attack without warning, we don't use deception in battle." "Why not?" asked. "They're trying to capture or kill me. They're threatening your ship, your crew. Where's the honor in letting them dictate the terms of every fight?" Who'd been quietly listening from her station, spoke up. "He has a point, Captain. They won't stop coming. If we keep fighting them fairly, eventually our luck will run out." "What exactly are you proposing?" asked, her tone careful. "Move to the tactical display. Humans call it guerrilla warfare. We pretend to be more damaged than we are. We limp along, looking vulnerable. When they get close for the kill, we hit them from an unexpected angle, use their assumptions against them." "And if it fails," asked, "if they see through the deception?" "Then we're no worse off than we are now," replied. "But if it works, we take out one of their attack groups and buy ourselves time." Was quiet for a long moment. Her tail swished slowly as she thought. Finally, she nodded. "We'll try it your way, human, but we do this once. If it works, good. If it fails, we return to proper combat doctrine." "It'll work," said with more confidence than he felt. They spent the next hour preparing. The engineering teams, led by Jinnah, vented plasma to make it look like the engines were failing worse than they were. They shut down non-essential systems, making their power signature weak. They even rotated the ship slowly, as if they'd lost attitude control. To any scanner, The crimson tail looked like a dying vessel. They took the bait. 3 warships approached in formation, their weapons charging. They sent no hail, no demand for surrender. They clearly thought the Vulpine ship was finished. Weapons range in 30 seconds, reported. Her claws were extended, gripping her console with tension. Watched the tactical display. He'd positioned himself next to, learning her systems. Wait for it. Let them get closer. They need to think we can't fight back. 20 seconds, 10. The lead ship fired a warning shot across the Crimson Tail's bow. Standard procedure, giving one last chance to surrender. Now shouted. The Crimson Tail's engines roared to full power. The ship spun with impossible speed, bringing its main weapons to bear. Before they could react, the Vulpine warship unleashed everything it had. The lead enemy ship's shields collapsed under the barrage. Its hull cracked open, venting atmosphere. The other 2 ships scattered, their formation broken by surprise. "Pursue the one on the left," called out. "Don't let them regroup." Gave the order, and the Crimson Tail dove after its prey. The ship tried to evade, but it was designed for direct combat, not evasive maneuvers. Vulpine weapons found their mark again and again. The second ship exploded in a ball of fire. The remaining enemy vessel turned and ran, its engines pushing to maximum. Didn't chase it. She let it go, her tactical mind understanding the value of a survivor spreading fear. "Damage report," she commanded. "Minor hits to forward shields," reported. "Nothing serious, we're still combat capable." The bridge crew erupted in cheers. Vulpine voices raised in victory cries that the translator couldn't quite capture. Was grinning, her tail wagging. Even Sora looked pleased, though she tried to hide it. Approached, her expression unreadable. "Your tactics worked. We destroyed 2 enemy ships without losing a single crew member." She paused. "But what you suggested, it goes against everything we've been taught about honorable combat." "Sometimes honor is a luxury you can't afford," said quietly. "My species learned that the hard way. We had wars that nearly destroyed us. We learned that survival sometimes requires doing things that make you uncomfortable." "Is that what it means to be human?" asked. "To be willing to do whatever it takes to survive?" "It's part of it. Humans come from a dangerous world. We had to be adaptable, creative, willing to break our own rules when necessary." Met her gaze. "But we also learned when to hold to our principles. The trick is knowing the difference." Before could respond, alarms blared again. But these weren't combat alarms. These were worse. Captain's voice was panicked. "I'm reading massive void signatures, multiple fleets converging on our position." The tactical display lit up with contacts, dozens of them, from multiple directions. Demanded. "Some are, but I'm also reading Saurian Merchant Coalition," and his voice caught. "Vulpine fleet signatures, big ones, capital ships." Felt his stomach drop. Multiple species all heading for them, for him. "They're all here for the human," Sora said what everyone was thinking. "Word has spread too far. Every major power wants him." His claws extended, clicking against her chair. "Open a channel to the Vulpine fleet, now." The shimmered, showing a Vulpine bridge, but this wasn't a warship. It was something bigger, more ornate. A flagship. The Vulpine in the command chair was older, her fur graying, but her presence was commanding. "Captain," the older Vulpine said, "I am Fleet Admiral. The Matriarchy has sent me with 17 warships to ensure the human reaches Prime safely." 17, sounded shocked. "Admiral, that's a significant portion of our military." The Council deemed it necessary. Its expression was firm. "The human represents hope for our species. We will not lose him to thee or anyone else." On another part of a different face appeared. This one was reptilian with cold yellow eyes, a Saurian commander. "The Saurian Dominion claims this sector," the reptile hissed. "You are trespassing. Surrender the human and we will allow you to leave peacefully." A third image appeared, and Queen, her mandibles clicking. The human is a threat to galactic stability. We demand he be turned over to neutral authority for study. Watch this political nightmare unfold. He was the center of an interstellar incident. Different species, different agendas, all willing to go to war over him. "This is madness," he muttered. "This is what you're worth," said from beside him. "You're the first fertile male any of these species have seen in generations. Some want to study you. Some want to use you. Some, like us, want you as a symbol of hope." The standoff in space grew tenser. The Vulpine fleet formed a protective formation around the Crimson Tail. The fleet matched them. The Saurians circled like predators. Smaller ships from various factions hovered at the edges, waiting to see what would happen. "Captain," Admiral said, "I'm ordering you to transfer the human to my flagship immediately." But hesitated, saw the doubt in her eyes. She'd been ordered to protect him, but she'd also gotten to know him. He wasn't just a valuable resource to her crew anymore. He'd saved their ship, fought beside them, become, in some way, one of them. "Admiral," said carefully, "with respect, the human has proven himself a valuable tactical advisor. His methods are unorthodox but effective. Perhaps he should remain on the Crimson Tail where he's most useful." His ears flattened. "Captain, that wasn't a request." "And I'm saying," his voice grew stronger, "that my crew has protected him this far. My crew has bled for him. He stays with us until we reach Prime. We'll accept your fleet's escort, but he doesn't transfer ships." A murmur went through the Crimson Tail's bridge. Crew members looked at their captain with surprise and pride. She was defying a fleet admiral, for him. Felt something shift in that moment. These weren't just his captors anymore. The Vulpine crew, especially those who'd fought beside him, who'd guarded his door, who'd called him little brother, they'd become his people in a way he hadn't expected. "Very well," Admiral said after a pause. "But understand, Captain, when we reach Prime, the human's fate will be decided by the matriarchy, not by you, not by him." The transmission ended. The Vulpine fleet maintained formation around them. The other fleets watched, waiting, calculating. Approached, her expression serious. "You know what's going to happen when we reach the right?" "They'll never let me leave," said. "No, they won't." Ears drooped. "I'm sorry." Looked around the bridge at the Vulpine crew. At who just risked her career to keep him aboard. At who taught him tactics. At Jinnah down in engineering who called him little brother. At Sara, who watched him constantly but had fought to protect him. At who'd become something like a friend. "Maybe," he said slowly, "that's not entirely a bad thing." Prime appeared on the like a jewel in the void. The planet was covered in red forests and silver cities that caught the light of twin suns. Orbital stations dotted the space around it, each one a marvel of technology. Had never seen anything so beautiful. The Vulpine fleet escorted the Crimson Tail down through the atmosphere. Fighter craft flew in formation around them, a honor guard fit for royalty. Watched from the bridge as they descended toward the capital city. "Have you ever seen anything like it?" asked beside him. She'd barely left his side during the entire journey. "Never," admitted. "Earth has cities but nothing this advanced. We're still building our first off-world colonies. This is incredible." The ship landed at a massive spaceport. As the engines powered down, could see thousands of Vulpine gathered beyond the security barriers. All females. All watching the ship with intense interest. "They know you're here," Sora said grimly. She stood on his other side, armored and armed. News of a male spreads fast. Captain approached. "The Matriarchy Council wants to meet you immediately. I'll escort you to the palace, along with a security detail." "All of us," said firmly. "Everyone who guarded him on the ship, we should all go." Nodded, agreed. "Sara, Jinnah, and will accompany us. The rest of the crew will handle ship repairs." They exited the ship together. The moment appeared on the boarding ramp, the crowd erupted. not in cheers or jeers, but in a strange, awed silence. Thousands of golden eyes stared at him. The weight of their attention was overwhelming. A large transport vehicle waited for them, clearly designed for security. They climbed in and it whisked them through the city streets. Everywhere looked, he saw Vulpine stopping to watch them pass. Some pressed against barriers for a better look. Others held up recording devices. "They've never seen a male before," Jinnah explained softly. "Most of them weren't even alive when we had males of our own. You're like a myth come to life." The imperial palace was enormous, all silver towers and red banners. Guards in ornate armor lined the entrance. As and his escorts entered, he noticed even more guards taking position. These weren't regular soldiers. They were elite warriors, each one radiating deadly competence. A tall Vulpine with silver fur approached. "I am Bora, captain of the Royal Guard. I'll be escorting you from here." Sora bristled. "We're his guards, we've protected him since." "And you've done well," Bora interrupted smoothly. "But palace security is my responsibility. You may accompany us, but I command here." They walked through halls of marble and crystal, saw artwork depicting Vulpine history, battles, celebrations, and images of males and females together. Those last images had a sadness to them, a reminder of what was lost. Finally, they reached a massive chamber. At the far end sat 3 ornate chairs, and in the center one was the oldest Vulpine had seen. Her fur was completely silver, her eyes sharp despite her age. She radiated authority and wisdom. "Matriarch," Bora announced, bowing low, "I present the human of Earth." Wasn't sure of the proper protocol, so he bowed as well. When he straightened, was studying him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "A male," she said, her voice clear despite her age. "After 200 years, the universe has given us a gift." She gestured to the chairs beside her. 2 other matriarchs sat there, one with dark red fur, the other pale orange. "I am first matriarch of Prime. This is matriarch, leader of the Science Council." The dark red Vulpine nodded. "And matriarch, our chief geneticist." Leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with scientific interest. "We've studied the medical scans sent us. Your biology is remarkable, similar enough to ours that genetic compatibility might be possible, but different in fascinating ways." "I'm not here to be studied like a specimen," said, keeping his voice respectful but firm. "No," raised an eyebrow. "Then why are you here, human?" "I didn't have much choice. My ship was destroyed. Your people rescued me. Then everyone in the galaxy decided I was valuable. I'm just trying to survive." Smiled slightly. "Honest, I appreciate that." She stood, descending from her chair with surprising grace for her age. "Walk with me, alone." Sora started to object, but Bora's royal guards moved to intercept. After a moment of tension, placed a hand on Sora's shoulder. "Let him go," the captain said quietly. Followed through a side door into a private garden. Red trees grew here, their leaves shimmering in the breeze. A small stream flowed through the center. It was peaceful. "Do you know why our males died?" asked, sitting on a bench by the stream. "Disease, that's what said." "A genetic plague, yes, created by accident in our own laboratories. We were trying to eliminate certain hereditary conditions. Instead, we created something that targeted the male genome specifically. By the time we understood what was happening, it was too late. Within a generation, every male was gone." She was quiet for a moment, her eyes distant. "I remember them. I was young, but I remember my father, my brothers. The way males were protected, cherished. They were smaller than us, weaker in some ways, but they brought balance to our society. When they died, part of our soul died too." "I'm sorry," said sincerely. "We've survived through cloning and genetic manipulation, but each generation is weaker than the last. We're dying slowly. In perhaps 50 years, the Vulpine will be extinct." She looked at him directly. "Unless we find a way to reintroduce male genetics into our species." You want to use my DNA. We want to save our people. Yes, his honesty was brutal. Believes that with time she can create a hybrid genome, part vulpine, part human. It wouldn't be perfect, but it might give us a future. And what about my future? Asked. Do I get a choice in this? What choice would you make? Thought about it, really thought. He could demand they return him to human space. The vulpine might even agree to maintain diplomatic relations. He could go home, report everything he'd learned, live out his life safely. But he thought about who'd protected him and become his friend, about Jinnah, who called him little brother, about who'd an admiral for him, about all the vulpine who'd fought to keep him safe. I want to help, he said slowly, but not as a prisoner, not as property. If I'm going to do this, I need guarantees. Such as contact with Earth, regular contact, and when other humans come, because they will come looking for me, the vulpine agree to an alliance. Technology exchange, trade, mutual defense, a real partnership between our species, not just using me for your survival. His ears perked up. You would negotiate on behalf of your entire species. Someone has to. I'm here. I might as well make the best of it. The matriarch laughed, a sound like bells. You are remarkable. Most males of our species were gentle, soft. You have fire in you, she stood. Very well, we will contact your Earth. We will negotiate an alliance. But this will take time. In the meanwhile, you will stay here in the palace. We'll give you an entire wing for your quarters. And since your guards are so devoted to you, they may continue their watch. I assume that will make you feel safer. It would, actually. They returned to the council chamber where the others waited nervously. Addressed them all. The human will remain as our honored guest. He will have freedom of the palace and city, with appropriate security. His guards from the Crimson Tail may stay if they wish, rotating as they see fit. And we will begin diplomatic contact with Earth immediately. And me, Captain asked, my ship. Your ship will be fully repaired at our expense. You and your crew have served the Empire well. You'll be given commendations, smiled. Though I suspect some of your crew may prefer to stay here, guarding our honored guest. His tail wagged eagerly. Sora looked torn but nodded. Jinnah grinned and exchanged glances, then both nodded as well. We'd like to stay, said, speaking for all of them, if that's allowed. It's more than allowed, it's appreciated. Over the next days, settled into his new life. His quarters in the palace were ridiculously luxurious, multiple rooms, a private garden, technology he barely understood. And outside his doors always were guards, 20 vulpine warriors rotating in shifts. Some were royal guards like Bora. Others were his original protectors from the ship. They called him little brother now, all of them. It had spread through the palace staff. Even matriarch, when she came to take regular medical samples for her genetic research, used the term with affectionate amusement. His laboratory was a wonder of advanced science. She showed genetic sequences, explaining how she might bridge the gap between human and vulpine biology. Your species evolved under extreme pressure, she said one day, looking at his DNA structure on a holographic display. Your world's gravity is higher than ours. Your atmosphere has more oxygen. Your sun's radiation is stronger. Everything about Earth tried to kill early humans, so they became incredibly resilient. Is that unusual? Extremely. Most species evolve on relatively gentle worlds. They develop technology to overcome challenges rather than physical adaptation. But humans, you adapted. You can eat plants that would poison us, survive temperatures that would kill most species, heal from wounds we'd die from. You're remarkably hard to kill. Thought about that? About Earth's history of ice ages and mass extinctions, about humanity's climb from prey species to apex predator, about all the ways Earth had tried to wipe out humans and how they'd survived anyway. Maybe that's why I'm still alive, he said, after everything that's happened. Maybe that's why your species will thrive among the stars, replied. One evening was in his garden when alarms sounded through the palace, not practice alarms, real ones. Bora appeared instantly, her weapon drawn. "Stay here," she ordered, but heard weapons fire, screaming. Something had breached palace security. Sauron appeared, flanking his door. "Assassins," Sora said grimly. "Saurian, they're trying to reach you." The attack was coordinated and brutal. Saurian commandos, the best of their species, fought through the palace. They were outnumbered but incredibly skilled. Palace guards fell. Alarms wailed. Grabbed a weapon from a fallen guard, ignoring protests. He wasn't going to hide while others died for him. The assassins reached his corridor. 4 of them, reptilian and deadly. They moved with precision, their weapons cutting down guards. Bora fought like a demon, her blade flashing. But there were too many. One Saurian broke through, heading straight for. He fired his borrowed weapon, hitting its center mass. The Saurian staggered but kept coming. These were professionals, armored and prepared. Threw herself between and the assassin. The Saurian's blade caught her across the shoulder and she went down with a cry of pain. Sora roared in fury, tackling the assassin, but another came from the side. Saw it happening in slow motion. The Saurian's weapon rising, Sora's back exposed. He didn't think, he just moved. He tackled Sora out of the way and the energy blade meant for her caught him instead. Pain exploded through his side. He felt his ribs crack, his skin burn. He hit the floor hard, his vision going dark at the edges. The last thing he saw before unconsciousness took him was Bora's final blow taking down the last assassin, and tear-stained face appearing above him, her paws pressing desperately against his wound. Woke to the familiar blue glow of a vulpine medical bay. His side hurt, but the pain was distant, controlled by medication. He tried to sit up and found asleep in a chair next to his bed, her shoulder bandaged. Sora stood by the door, watching him with intense eyes. "You're awake," Sora said quietly. "Good, you've been out for 2 days." 2 days? His voice was rough. "You took a blade meant for me," Sora continued, her tone strange. "You pushed me out of the way, you could have died." "You would have died," replied. "I just reacted." Sora's ears flattened. "A male protecting a female, that's backwards. We're supposed to protect you." "We protect each other," said firmly. "That's what family does." The word hung in the air. Family. Sora's eyes widened slightly, then she nodded slowly. "Yes, family." The door opened and entered the medical officer from the Crimson Tail who'd first treated him. "Good, you're conscious. Let me check your wound." She ran scanners over his side, her professional demeanor hiding worry. "Remarkable. You're healing faster than any vulpine would." Was right. Human biology is incredibly resilient. "Will he fully recover?" asked, waking from her doze. "Completely. Another week and he'll barely have a scar," smiled. "Though I recommend not jumping in front of any more weapons for a while." Over the next days, as recovered, he learned what had happened. The Saurian assassins were all dead or captured. The attack had been ordered by a faction in the Saurian government who saw human-vulpine cooperation as a threat to galactic power balance. But the attack had done something unexpected. It had galvanized support for among the vulpine people. News of how he'd thrown himself in harm's way to protect his guards spread across the planet. He wasn't just a valuable male anymore. He was someone who fought for them, protected them, treated them as equals. Matriarch visited him in the medical bay. "The human government has responded to our messages," she said. "They're sending a diplomatic mission. It will take them several months to reach us, but they're coming." "That's good news." "They also demanded proof you're alive and well. I've arranged for you to send a message. You can tell them whatever you wish." She paused. "Though I hope you'll tell them the truth, that you've chosen to stay and help us." "Have I chosen?" asked. "Or have I just accepted that I don't have a choice?" "Considered that. Perhaps both, perhaps neither, but you're here and you're making the best of it. That's what your species does, yes, adapt, survive, find opportunity in adversity. When was well enough, he recorded a message for Earth. He told them everything: his ship's destruction, his rescue by the Vulpine, the political situation, the Vulpine's genetic crisis. He explained the proposed alliance and his role in it. "I know this sounds strange," he said to the camera, "but I think this is important. The Vulpine need our help, and in exchange they're offering technology, knowledge, and alliance. We could learn so much from each other. I'm going to stay here and help negotiate. I hope you'll support this." He sent the message, not knowing what response he'd get. Weeks passed, grew stronger. He continued working within her laboratory, fascinated by the genetic science she was developing. The potential for hybrid offspring was real, though it would take years of research to make it safe. He also began training with Bora and the Royal Guard. His human physiology gave him advantages: faster reflexes, greater endurance, the ability to fight under higher gravity. But the Vulpine had technique and experience. They taught him their combat arts, and he taught them human tactics. "You fight dirty," Bora said one day after used a move that would be considered dishonorable in Vulpine culture. "I fight to win," corrected. "In human martial arts there's no such thing as a fair fight. Only fights you win and fights you lose." "Teach me," Bora said simply. So he did. He taught the Royal Guard human combat techniques: improvisation, using the environment as a weapon, fighting multiple opponents, dirty tricks and unexpected moves. They were eager students and they adapted quickly. The palace became his home. His 20 rotating guards became his sisters in truth, not just in name. Was his closest friend, always cheerful and optimistic. Sara was his stern protector, who'd softened toward him after he saved her life. Jinna visited from the Crimson Tail regularly, bringing engineering puzzles for them to solve together, taught him advanced tactics, shared news from across the galaxy. And then one day the alarms sounded again, but these weren't attack warnings. These were proximity alerts. Multiple fleets dropping out of hyperspace, a communications officer announced. Saurian and human signatures. Rushed to the palace's command center. The holographic display showed space around Prime filling with ships. The had brought a war fleet. The Saurians matched them. And there, arriving from Earth's direction, were human vessels. Not many. Humanity's space fleet was small compared to the galactic powers, but they were there. A communication channel opened. A human face appeared on the screen, a stern man in a military uniform. "This is Admiral of the Earth Defense Fleet. We're here for our citizen. We also received the Vulpine proposal for alliance and are prepared to negotiate." Another channel opened, this one showing a queen. "The swarm demands the human be turned over to neutral custody. His presence disrupts the balance of power." A third channel, the Saurians. "We will not allow a human-Vulpine alliance. It threatens our security." Matriarch appeared on all channels. "The human is under Vulpine protection. He will not be surrendered to anyone. As for our alliance with Earth, that is between our two species and no one else's concern." "Then this means war," the Saurian commander hissed. "If it must," replied calmly. The tension in space was unbearable. Multiple fleets, all armed, all ready to fight, watched the tactical display, his mind racing. This was going to be a bloodbath, all because of him. "No," he said suddenly, "there's another way." He opened a direct channel to all fleets. His face appeared on every ship, human and alien alike. "This is human citizen and friend to the Vulpine Empire. I'm the one you're all arguing about, so let me be clear. I choose to stay with the Vulpine. I'm helping them not because I'm forced to, but because it's the right thing to do. Our species are dying out. Humanity has the ability to help. That's not a threat to anyone, it's cooperation." He looked directly at the Queen. "You claim I disrupt the balance of power, but what power? The power to let an entire species go extinct because you're afraid of change. That's not power, that's cowardice. To the Saurians, and you see alliance as a threat, but humanity and the Vulpine together could become a force for stability in this region. We could mediate disputes, share technology, create something better than what we have now. Finally to Admiral, Admiral, I know Earth sent you to rescue me. Thank you, but I don't need rescuing, I need support. Accept the Vulpine Alliance. Send scientists, diplomats, teachers. Let's build something together. There was a long silence. Then Admiral spoke. The Earth government authorized me to assess the situation and act accordingly. I've been monitoring communications. I've seen how the Vulpine protected you, how you protected them. I've reviewed the proposed alliance terms. He paused. Earth accepts. We'll send a delegation to begin formal negotiations. The Queen made a chittering sound of disgust but didn't attack. The Saurians postured but ultimately backed down when faced with 3 allied fleets. Slowly, the tension diffused. Ships began to withdraw. Crisis averted, for now. The formal negotiations took months. A human delegation arrived, led by Ambassador, a skilled diplomat who dealt with first-contact situations before, worked with both sides, translating not just language but culture. He helped humans understand Vulpine honor codes and helped Vulpine understand human pragmatism. The alliance was signed in a ceremony on Prime. Humans would provide genetic material and scientists to help the Vulpine Genome Project. In exchange, the Vulpine would share advanced technology, energy systems, medical knowledge, faster-than-light drives. But more than that, they would be partners. Military allies, trading partners, friends. As part of the ceremony, was formally named the first human ambassador to the Vulpine Empire. He stood before both peoples and accepted the responsibility. That night there was a celebration in the palace. Humans and Vulpine mingled, sharing food and stories, watched from a balcony, taking it all in. Joined him, her shoulder fully healed now. Strange how things work out, she said. We found you dying in an escape pod. Now you're an ambassador and our 2 species are allies. You saved my life that day, replied. All of you did, multiple times. I'm just trying to repay the debt. There is no debt between family, said, using the Vulpine phrase that the translator rendered perfectly. Sora appeared on his other side as always. The first human-Vulpine hybrid embryos are viable, she reported. Announced it an hour ago. The genetics project is working. Felt the weight of that. In a few years there would be children, neither fully human nor fully Vulpine, but something new, something that might save an entire species. We did it, he said softly. You did it, Bora corrected, stepping onto the balcony with Jinna, and you brought our peoples together. No, shook his head. We did it together. Humans alone couldn't have done this. Vulpine alone couldn't have done this. But together we're stronger. 5 years later, walked through a nursery wing of the palace. Small cubs played here, the first generation of hybrid children. They had features of both species, some more Vulpine, some more human, but all healthy and strong. A small cub ran up to him, her ears perked with excitement. She looked mostly Vulpine but with human-like hands and rounder features. Uncle, she chirped, will you tell us the story again? What story? He asked, kneeling down to her level. The story about how you woke up on a ship and all the sisters protected your door. Laughed. The story had become famous, especially among the children. They loved hearing about the human who traveled to the stars and found a new family among the Vulpine. All right, he agreed, one more time. The cubs gathered around and began the tale. He told them about the morning star's destruction, about waking up surrounded by fox people, about Sora guarding his cabin door. He told them about the battles, the political intrigue, the alliance. But mostly, he told them about family. About how sometimes family isn't who you're born to, but who chooses to stand beside you. about how different species could come together and create something beautiful. When he finished, the cubs ran off to play, stood and found his guards, his sisters, waiting for him. They still rotated shifts protecting his door, even though he was in no danger now. It had become tradition, an honor. "Ambassador," said formally, though her eyes twinkled, "the council is waiting for you. Something about a new human colony ship arriving next month." "Let them wait a few minutes," replied. He looked out the window at the red forests of Prime, at the ships coming and going from orbit, human and Vulpine working together. "I just want to enjoy this moment." "What moment?" Sora asked. "The moment when everything changed, when two species decided that cooperation was better than conflict, when we chose to save each other." He smiled. "When I stopped being a prisoner and became an ambassador, when you stopped being just guards and became my sisters." His tail wagged. "We were always your sisters, little brother, from the moment we pulled you from that escape pod." "Even when I was a problem," teased. "Especially when you were a problem," Sora said with a rare smile. They walked together through the palace, a human surrounded by his Vulpine sisters. Outside his quarters, the same 20 guards maintained their rotation. Inside, both human and Vulpine flags hung side by side. Had woken up on a Fox warship alone and lost, but he'd found something he never expected. He'd found a purpose. He'd found a cause, and most importantly, he'd found family. The doors to his cabin stood open, guards on either side, not to keep him in but to welcome him home, and that made all the difference.